What can you learn from the LA wildfires? A lot. At least I certainly did. And not necessarily the obvious things that you'd expect. For one, I actually live in Los Angeles County when this happened, and it was a pretty crazy experience because unlike circumstances where there's only been one fire, this one, because there were so many that broke out, it was hard to get updates on them. The information was either backlogged and old, and people were mixing all the different names up. So, except for like the two or three main ones, it was really hard to find out what was going on, and no one really knew where it was going to strike next. Luckily, the actual fire didn't hit where I live or where I work, even, although it came closer to the healing space that I use. But where I live, the power did go down for at least 24 hours. It was hard to get an exact time because it happened so close to night. And I was gone purposely the next day because it's miserable if you don't have power and you're not a prepper, not completely off grid. So I did get affected. At home, I lost power for 24 plus hours. And the healing space I use, it did, from what I understand, that area did get evacuated, at least recommended. And it turned out to just be this one area. So it was, and then they said within I think 45 minutes that it was a mistake and it was only for this one. So there was a lot of incorrect information going out, a lot of mix-ups. So that was really hard to interpret. And if it was just one, I think it would have been a lot easier to figure out what was going on and get updates. But because there were so many, they were all getting, the names were getting confused and everyone was just going kind of crazy. But the healing spaces I use in Pasadena, big trees did come down right in front of that building, going across the street. And the other healer I split the space with, she went in a couple days later and she said, bring your own water, and the water's red and it's burning my skin. I've never even heard of that happening before. I don't know what would cause it, but it certainly has to be some terrible chemicals. And that the city of Pasadena did put out an official water warning, not to drink the water. I don't even know if it's lifted yet or not. Like I said, the information wasn't really getting updated, and there were so many cities involved in the county. There were so many alerts that it was hard to keep track of everything. And I thought a lot of places were bad at updating. On top of that, the air quality was horrible. Thankfully, it finally rained, and I could tell the difference because then the air was clear. I'm like, okay, this is what normal air feels like. So it's kind of scary because it shows how polluted it was. And luckily, that was a time everyone pretty much agreed it was beneficial to wear masks, not the surgeon's mask. They could just keep ash out of your mouth. That's about it. But at least an N95, and that probably wasn't even suitable. It would have been much better to have a gas mask, as funny as it sounds. But the unfortunate part is the rain only brought short-term benefit because all the water washes those chemicals into the soil and the oceans and rivers. So there's no telling how big the fallout is from all those industrial chemicals getting burned and released out into the atmosphere and then coming back down. And who knows what everyone was breathing in. The funny thing is, a lot of the LA County people weren't wearing masks. They were so strict about it from that 2020 to 2022 period. And here was a time where pretty much the general consensus was that you should wear one. And I was one of the only people actually wearing one. And I'm not even a big masker, but that was one case I didn't want to take a chance for sure. And chances are something probably got it anyways because it was so hard to avoid it. Thankfully, I wasn't right by the actual fires, at least where I live. And I didn't go into the healing space I use. But some people were saying the smoke from those fires could travel over 100 miles. which is pretty crazy. And there's no telling how many people got affected. I'm surprised they don't really test for that. I do have some healer and spiritual colleagues that did buy homes in Pacific Palisades and Malibu that burned down. And it was really shocking when it happened because these are successful people. Otherwise, they would have been out there in the first place. And they lost everything or pretty much everything in a day tops, usually even less time. And I was in shock. It was very hard to process because a lot of these are good vibes people. It's the last thing you'd expect to happen. And even one said when she and her partner received the evacuation notice, they thought it was just going to be a night away, so they packed very lightly. But then the fire moved so fast that it was just gone. I think the next day they found out, and it was just devastating. You could tell it was shocking for them. And I know the insurance is a big issue because some of the homeowners' policies pulled out supposedly months beforehand. And that's a whole nother debate or rabbit hole to explore. But even if the insurance covers it, it's not even the money per se. Yes, that will certainly hurt. But it's all the memories that were either created in that place or even just heirlooms that were passed down. And now they'll never get those back. And that's what really paused to make me think. Because in all honesty, everyone who knows me, I'm really not a materialistic person, especially at this point. If I ever was, I'm definitely not one now. I'm minimalizing as I get older, so I don't have anything of extreme monetary value. But what I do have is like a hard drive with all my work on it, all my podcasts, all my videos for coaching, all my files I've ever written for my classes, everything like that. Imagine just something like that, all that effort, all that time. And I didn't have a backup of that going up in smoke in an instant. Here's something that I could have spent years of my life doing, and then in a blink of an eye, it could be gone. So the fires can rob you of your life, your time as well, things you put effort in. And that, I think, hurts even more. But on top of that, a lot of people were handed down items from their family. And who knows, some of these things could have been in their families for years, especially if that home was in their family for generations. So imagine here's something your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents, or even further down the line, handed down to you, and they're no longer here. That fire hit it, destroyed it, and it's gone forever. And you can't get something like that back. That really made me think, really pause. And I realized, as unattached as I think I am, I still need to go further. I still have attachments. And I think it's a good opportunity for all of us to take that pause and reflect. What am I still attached to in this world? Because I really think there's a lot of work to keep whittling it down. The less attachments you have, the better. Age definitely helps, but doing the work helps a lot more. That is one area of Buddhism I really agree with. And I thought about that again, because they really don't have too many worldly possessions. And if something like that happened to them, yes, their physical structures might have been damaged, but not too much of anything they owned would have, because they don't have much. They could just get up and go. But I thought that was interesting because on my spiritual and healing journeys, I haven't bought very valuable things monetarily. I don't really enjoy or get enticed by those types of things. And I do see how you can get bogged down when you own too much stuff, as George Carlin used to talk about. But I have accumulated memories and experiences and sometimes souvenirs. Some of my clients and friends, and even my mother, have given me gifts, usually with a spiritual theme, with sentimental value. And those would be hard to lose, I have to admit at this point. Since I didn't get directly affected, I don't know. I could say I would do something, but until it happens to you and you're in that situation, you really don't know for sure. But that's why I really sat with the emotions that were coming up and put myself in that situation. If this is something that happened, how would I handle it? Would I be able to handle it? Would I fall apart? Or would I take a step back, try to find the lesson, and just figure out how to move on from there? And I'm thankful all I had to do at this point was practice. But it goes to show us all that it doesn't have to be a fire. There's so many other natural disasters or other things that could happen. And you could lose everything you have so quickly before you know it, before you have even time to process it or react to try to save it. And that's why I think it's a good time for all of us to take stock of our lives and everything we have in it. What do we really need? What are we still attached to? And examine that. And also ask ourselves, do we still need this? And just go down one by one. And if we come across something that we definitely are still attached to, ask ourselves if we're okay with that. And in all honesty, we might be. We don't all have to become monks by tomorrow. But if we're not, and we're noticing that we are attached to way more things than we'd like to be, we should ask ourselves what we have to do to start whittling down some of these attachments. And that way we could travel through life freer and deal with the obstacles that are thrown at us in life more efficiently and with more resilience. It was great doing another talk with you. Please like, follow, and subscribe if you want to be alerted of new episodes that release. And if you want to apply to the coaching program I'm going to be offering, check out the link below.